So we're looking at FanDuel's win total for the Atlanta Braves this year, and it's set at 95 and a half wins. Now, if you look at the teams that have win totals above 90 games, it's the Dodgers, Astros, Braves, Mets, Padres, and Yankees. Okay, with the um, what I say, I think it's Philadelphia is in the 80 plus win category. So they have the Phillies at over 80 wins, but the Braves are sitting at 95 and a half wins on their total. Now, I like that number. Do I think that the Braves win 101 games? No, I mean that's a pretty stout total to be 40 games above 500. And obviously, the Phillies are a much better team. But I'd play the 95 and a half in the win total. I would play that number in looking at the Braves. I still think the Braves are arguably the one or two best teams in the National League. I think the Dodgers are right there. I think it's the Dodgers and the Braves are the class of Major League Baseball. Do I trust the Mets? I mean, look, they won 101 games last year, and had the Braves not beaten them head to head the way that they did, the Braves wouldn't have won the division. I don't know that the Mets are another 100-win team, but the Mets will obviously be nipping on the heels. And I definitely think that Philadelphia is going to close the gap from what the Braves were last year. I think it was 13 games that the Phillies were behind Atlanta. I definitely think that part of the division closes. But if you told me I had to just get to 96 wins, and that's still 5 less wins than the Braves had before, I could definitely see that. And Terry McGurk had a comment yesterday. And look, I understand that this is, you have to say these kinds of things. But Terry McGurk talked about the idea that he thinks that this is the most talented Braves team that he's seen. Now, I don't know if it's the most talented. I'll fight anybody. That 2003 team was immensely talented. But this is a very, very good team. I think they're still a very good defensive team. I still think that they are a really deep lineup. I still think that they have some outstanding starting pitching, even if Kyle Wright is starting on the IL, even if Soroka and Anderson aren't, in the mix right away, even if Iglesias is not available right away. I still think that they're pitching. Look, when you look at Fried and Strider and Morton and the two young guys with Dodd and with Schuster, I still think that that's a formidable starting rotation. And then you've got all of these other pieces that eventually can come up once you get Kyle Wright back, if Soroka or Anderson can get on track. So their starting pitching is going to keep them in every game. And what do they do really well in modern day baseball? Their starting staff gets a lot of swings and misses. And we gave you this stat last year. We said last year at this time that one of the stats that I was looking at was team strikeouts from a pitching standpoint, not from a batter standpoint. But I thought the Braves would set the record for strikeouts as a pitching staff last year, their team record, and they did all that. Because you've got Morton, who can be a 200 strikeout pitcher. You've got Strider, who can be 250 strikeouts. You've got Fried and Wright that can be 175, 180 strikeouts. And then you got all of the bullpen arms, right? All of the guys that are down in the bullpen that can certainly blow it all by you. So I think with the Marlins and the Nats being dreadful, and I'll just call them dreadful, I think that the Braves win total gets over the 95 and a half. Let me tell you, if it doesn't, if they're 91, 92, 93 wins, even if they're in that range, I think there's a real danger that another team could end up winning the division, whether that's the Mets or the Phillies. Now, again, I said I'll take the Braves over the Mets and Phillies, because until I see it happen, until I see one of those two teams beat the Braves for the division over a 162 game season, then I will take the Braves every time. Until I see it, I'm not going to believe it. And as the Ghostbusters said, we are ready to believe you, but I don't believe it with the Mets and the Phillies. I don't believe that they hold up for 162 games and win the division, right? We all remember the 10 and a half game lead that the Mets had, and all these different things, and then they lost the division. Not because they collapsed, but the Braves were just that good of a team. And the Braves are that deep in their lineup. They're that good in their starting staff, even without some of their pieces and parts all in place. So I would take the 95.5 and take the over on that, because there's no reason why that the Braves and the Dodgers shouldn't be leading the way as far as, who's the best in the National League. I still think it's those two teams that are the cream of the crop in the NL, and then the Mets, Phillies, Padres, and the Padres will be another interesting team. Mets, Phillies, Padres, all right in that kind of step below what the Braves and Dodgers are. I think that's the cream of the crop. And then that next tier, which is not very far away, that gap is pretty small, but Phillies, Mets, and Padres, that's that next group of teams out there. So we'll see. But I would play the 95.5 win total for the Atlanta Braves on FanDuel. All right, after you make Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery your first listen every day, make sure you make Locked On Sports Today your second listen. The biggest stories of the day, the instant reactions, big game recaps, take of the day. Obviously, we got lots of coverage for opening day in Major League Baseball, so check them out. Spotify, Odyssey, YouTube, wherever you get all of your podcasts from.